today I'll be discussing the Kabbalah tree of life. The word Kabbalah comes from the root word Kabal, which means to receive. It is said that a Jewish man, you have to be a man over 40 years old to even study this if you was in the Jewish religion. So this is Kabbalah 101. So we're going to talk about some of the basic things. It's going to be more to it in later videos. So right now I just want to discuss the basic things. There are 10 Sephirah or 10 emanations. 10 emanations. This 11th one is not a Sephirah, it's actually a gateway to another tree that's behind it. It's called the so-called tree of death, also known as the Qliptoth. So the Qliptoth is sometimes called the tree of death. We'll talk about that later. But it's called, that hidden Sephirah or gateway is called Dath in Hebrew, or knowledge in English. The word Qliptoth actually means husk or shells. So it's trying to say it's the shell or the husk of this tree of life. Also, there are 22 lines or paths that connect each of the 10 emanations. Those 22 paths also correspond to the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. I'll do another video on the Hebrew alphabet and how to, according to the Book of Formation, you can study that also, the Book of Formation or the Sefer Yetzirah. It'll tell you how how God used the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet to create the world that we know of as Earth. So I'll do a separate video on that called the Hebrew alphabet and the Matrix. Alright. So each Sephirah or emanation of God also corresponds to a different planet. So you can look at the planets, so you can pause the video and take these down. So number 1 is Neptune. The last one, I put Earth, although it's really, and I have to, like I said, this is 101, we'll talk about it later. It's really Saturn energy down here on Earth. That's where you get the word Satan. Satan rules. But we'll talk about Saturn, because Saturn is the third Sephirah. So for now, we're just going to call it Earth to make it simple, since it's Kabbalah 101. Alright, so we talked about the 22 paths, the 10 Sephirah, the 3 pillars. Now you want to talk about the 4 worlds. So there are 3 worlds separated by this abyss. So the abyss that goes right through the line, that's where it's the gateway. If you notice, above the abyss, the upper triad is pointing up. This is the only triangle pointing up. The other 3 are pointing down. So 4, 5, 6 is pointing down, 7, 8, 9 is pointing down, and the last one where we are is pointed down. So you have 3 worlds pointed down and 1 world pointed up. The top world is called Ataluth, or the archetypal world. This is where all the archetypes and ideas come from. The second world, consisting of the next 3 Sephirah, is called the creative world. The third world is the formative world, or Yetzirah. That's 7, 8, and 9. The last one is where we are, the physical world. It's called Asaya. These also correspond to 4 parts of the soul. So you have Chia, which is your identity. This is the true you up here. You're going to learn more. As you go down, as we fall into skin, you're going to get more and more dense. So you're going to lose yourself into your ego. Ego is humanity, or your human body. So this is your soul. This is your true self, your identity. The next part of the soul is called Neshama, or intuition. The next one is Ruach. All these are Hebrew words, and this means intellect. This part is the animal soul, the Nefesh, or this is the instinct. So just to break down a little bit, it also corresponds to the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton is the 4-letter word for God. So you got Yod, Hey, Va, Hey. So they substitute the word Lord or Adonai and put vowel points on it. That's where you get the word Yahweh or Jehovah. So Yod also corresponds to fire, because this is the fire part of your soul. The next part is intuition. You know, intuition is water. So this is water. This one right here, intellect, is air. So that's what spirit is. Down here is earth or material. Alright, so you got Yod, Hey, Va, Hey. So notice on top of the abyss, you have the Yod. Below the abyss, you got the HVH. If you looked at my other video, you'll know this is another name for Eve, EVE. So this is when we start living. This is what we think we call living. We actually beginning to die once we're born into skin. But this is the word Hava or Hawa is the real name for Eve, which means living. And if you notice, if you read the Bible, you'll notice Abram had to receive a H, and he became Abraham. And his wife Sarai became Sarah. So that's a whole nother video on what earning this H is. It's really just meaning you're coming into a physical existence, or the material world. anything else I missed? Okay, up here you have the crown. The first Sephirah is the beginning. Above that is going to be 3 stages. One called Ayin, which is nothing. That's what God is. God exists in these 3 stages of nothingness. The second stage is called Ayin Sof, or limitless. The third one is Ayin Sof or limitless light. So those are the 3 stages. They also correspond to the 3 trimesters that a woman goes through, that children go through to be born into this world. So it represents the 3 trimesters: Ayin, Ayin Sof or. So you can just study it. Just look this up. You can Google Kabbalah Tree of Life images, and you'll get all this stuff in detail. And I'll try to make another video going depth. I'm trying to keep it short and simple. So basically, the Kabbalah Tree of Life is a physical representation of how the source, or whatever you want to call it, I don't like to use the word God, but just say the source created him or herself, and then in turn created us, because we started off as souls, just light beings. We're basically just light and so a fire. And then as you fell into skin, we start to vibrate slower and slower. Once you vibrate slower, you become more and more gross and dense, and you fall into skin or the physical body. So if you look at my other video, you'll know that we're basically based in carbon. When you get down to Earth, we become carbon beings, which is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. So that's where you get the whole 666. You're born into sin, and then Satan was cast down. Satan is really Saturn. I told you Saturn is actually this Saturn energy, because the planet Saturn, I'll go over the planets in another video also. Alright, so let me just stay on point. Make sure I don't miss anything else. Okay, so let's go back to the dark side. I told you I'll talk about that later. Alright, so the Qliptoth, or the dark side. So this abyss right here, you might hear, remember I told you about the pathways. The pathway to get across, the pathway that comes from, to get from here to here, because you got to understand, we went this way to get down into skin. Well, we came on Earth for a reason, but you want to also make it back to the source. The quickest way is to go up this middle pillar. But in order to do that, or you can take the zigzag route. Some people say go through each one. You can zigzag back up. But nonetheless, to get from this one to this one, you have to cross the abyss. So this is what Masons are talking about when they say they got to cross the sand. But what you may not know is, or Dath. Remember I said Dath in Hebrew means knowledge in English. But in Greek it's gnosis, G-N-O. So that might be that G. Another reason for the G is geometry and other things. But that G means a lot on a symbol. I'll do a video on the Mason logo also. Also, the Hebrew letter for this path, remember each path has a Hebrew letter, is Gimel. Gimel means camel. So that's the camel. You got to cross the desert with the camel. So remember I told you, Mason's talking about crossing the sand. So the G can also stand for the camel, or the letter G, Gimel in Hebrew. So you can study that, and I'll bring up another video later. So I want to talk about the dark side. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, you should, for a better understanding. You'll notice that they try to make everything that's dark bad. Like I just told you, melanin, and we're carbon-based people. Since they're born, there's certain people born with calcified pineal glands and they lack melanin, they consider anything dark negative. And they also know, if once you know about it, you're gonna get, that's your power. So the dark side, or the Qliptoth, isn't the shell of the tree of life. It's actually the power behind it. So it's the driving force. It's just like the analogy I can use, like whenever you hear the analogy, behind every great man there's a great woman. So you may see the man doing this and that and providing and all that, but he wouldn't be able to do that if the woman wasn't at home supporting him, taking care of the family, keeping home right, you know, stuff like that, feeding him, giving him the energy to go. So that's the best analogy I can give you. We may see this physical part, because that's all we do. We think through our ego since we fell down here. So we trying to get back and remember this. So that's why all my videos are basically going to be about. That's why I talked about the pineal gland and so much stuff. Because pretty soon I'm going to give you videos on how to use magic to get back to where we started. You're noticing a lot of movies they're using. Like for Dark Side, Thor, the latest one, #2, to talk about this Aether or Kather that existed. So that energy that existed before people who lack melanin were created. So the original people have melanin, so they can't access this energy. That's why it's so dark to them. Star Trek, Into the Darkness, Transformers, The Dark Side of the Moon. One of the original ones was Star Wars. If you know the Star Wars, this is Darth Vader. Remember, he was the dark side. You have to go to the dark side and you have to use light. So this middle pillar, Return of the Jedi. Jedi comes from the word Djed, D-J-E-D. You need to look that up, D-J-E-D. That's Osiris' spine. This is the middle pillar, or the spine of Osiris. So that's what the movie, this is Darth Vader, or Doth, knowledge. Vader just means father. So this is the gateway. And the wisest Jedi of them all was called Yoda. That's what the Yod. We're trying to get back to be the widest. We are the Jedi. This is our spine. Everything is about the spine, the pineal gland, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to tie all these videos up. So remember, they made everything evil. The Sith, which was Set, because remember, in the Egyptian, Osiris' son, Horus, had to battle his uncle Set, which later became Satan in Christian mythology. So Set in Egyptian mythology became Sith in George Lucas's movie Star Wars. So what you need to start learning is the word etymology. So I'll just stick this up real quick. Whenever you look up a word, you want to type in etymology. You can do this online. So the word demon in Greek actually means divine power, because they say on the dark side of the tree of death is where all the demons are, to avoid it. And you want to try to cross this. You can't cross it. You gotta go to your dark side before you even make it back to the source. So we'll talk about that later when we talk about magic. But the word demon in Greek means divine power. In Latin it means genius, or numen. Numen means divine presence. So always look up etymology. Etymology is the study of the origin of words. Words like the word consider. If I ask you what consider means, you might mean give thought to. But the etymology, if you type in consider and etymology, it's going to tell you that it really means to consult the stars. A lot of stuff is about astrotheology, or what we call astrology. So I already made mention of the Jed is the Jedi, or the middle pillar of the Kabbalah tree of life. Yoda is the Yod, or the upper three. So that's the only real you. That's the identity. That's the part of the soul. That's the only real part of you. Sith and Satan, the camel. I told you I'm doing a video on the 3 letters. I mean on the Hebrew letters. There are 3 mother letters, 7 double letters, and 12 single letters. So the whole point of this is you need to understand a demon is nothing more than an unbalanced magnetic angel. Your thing is you want to face your demons. You want to face your demons are nothing but your genius, your genies, the genie in the bottles, your genius, your genes, your DNA, etc., etc. It's just another word for your genes, your DNA. The Yod, Hey, Va, Hey is just another word for DNA. GTAC. So those 4 proteins that make up your body. So that's what this is all about. You starting off as a light man. You came down here for a reason. And now you want to learn and remember so you can get back. Alright, thank you. I try to make these videos less than 10 minutes. We almost going on 14. Hope I didn't miss anything. Like I said, look forward to other videos to explain a little bit more about this stuff. Thank you. And copy any of this before I let it. You can just pause it and copy any of this.